Hello, this is Bianca Westwood from Gillette Soccer Saturday on Sky Sports, and you are listening to the V2 Football Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the V2 Football Podcast. I'm Anthony Kendrick, and joining me this week we've got Coach Mark Meredith. Hi Mark, you well?
I'm very well, thank you Anthony. Good to speak to you.
Yeah, likewise. So how long have you been in coaching for?
I started briefly when I was about 14 years of age, just helping people out at local grassroots level. You know, my interest was in football, and I knew I wasn't going to play at a professional level, so I thought about going into coaching. So I helped out, like I say, at grassroots. And then when I was 16 and left school, I moved on to college to study with sports science, and also I was lucky enough to join a college. Birmingham City was involved. And I did their coaching program for 2 years. That's where I gained my coaching experience and qualifications.
Okay, so you did you became an under 9-10 coach at Birmingham, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I actually got a full-time job as an academy administrator at Birmingham to start with. So I was doing all the contracts and things for the academy players, and then the role came up as part-time for the under 9s and 10s. They were just coming into the academy at the time, so it suited me to get step in with them, and that'd be my first road really on the coaching journey. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and I still speak to a lot of the staff there now, and the players that I used to coach. Some of them are still in the academy, and some of them moved on to other teams.
You moved on to Derby after that. Did you have a good time there?
It's fantastic. The facilities at Moor Farm at Derby is great. I moved actually for personal reasons to Derby anyway. Bought a house there, so you know Moor Farm was so local to me, and everybody welcomed me in. I took their under 12s there, and I also ran their pre-academy development from under 6s to under 8s. So it was a good experience. It was getting the younger players in and getting them ready for academy football, and then also working with them 12s when they first go to 11v11 as well. So it was very nice.
Interesting place to live, Derby, as well.
Yeah, it is. Is that where you're from? Is it, Anthony?
Yeah. I grew up in Derby, so I know the place well, and follow Derby.
So you're a Ram, are you?
Yeah, from Derby, so I can't not be really.
Fantastic. Yeah. It was. It's nice. I actually bought a house first in a place like Ashby-de-la-Zouch in Leicestershire.
Yeah.
And then obviously we used to drive into Derby, and then actually my children, my two boys, still live actually in a place called Gresley now, which is not far from Burton upon Trent. So we've still got family around that area, and I know they're Birmingham fans because they're following after their dad, but they do have a soft spot for Derby County as well. So it's nice. It's a great club to be involved in for sure.
What about Walsall? You were there after Derby?
Yeah, I went to Walsall for like about 6 months. I helped them out at the end of the season. I took their under 12s. Went in, and it's a great family club. They were a centre of excellence team, and they changed to an academy. So when I first went in there was a massive restructure of the youth system. Going from being centre of excellence into the academy system was massive for them. So it was great to be a part of helping them move on.
Within the different places you went to, are the academies quite similar in how they're set up, or are there quite big differences between like Birmingham?
Yeah, I think they all have to follow the same. Well, they follow the same route of where they want to be, and the players now. Obviously, there's a little bit difference in how they're run depending on how the academy manager is now. When I was at Birmingham, the academy manager was Terry Wesley. Now he had already been at Derby as well. So when I moved to Derby and Darren Wassell was there, a lot of the things that was happening was still under the Terry's regime. So I was quite used to what was going on and how things work. So it was nice just to fit straight into that. And then obviously Darren brought his own ideas in, and we tried to build his way. And I know now they've gone on to be a Category 1 academy, so they're in a very high level. Both teams, Birmingham and Derby, and they're bringing in some good youth players into the first team.
Yeah. Are there any particular academies that you think are like top level in England?
You have the normal academies that like people that splash their money, the Manchester Cities and Man United and people like that are bringing players through all the time. My favourite was actually Crewe Alexander. I think Dario Gradi there was doing a magnificent job. He was taking the first team and he was also running the under-12s at at Crewe when I was at Derby. So, you'd see him around the youth team, and then you'd see him around the first team as well. And he was bringing in the same practices, and he was just trying to really force the younger players into becoming professionals at an early age. And you look at some of the players that have come through from Crewe, like Danny Murphy and Robbie Savage, and people like that, and they're players that have played at the highest level for quite a few seasons. So it's always nice to have a look back and see that the academies are actually working and bringing people in. You look at Derby now with Will Hughes and that type of people, and Birmingham. They just sold Damari off to Leicester, and Nathan Redmond went to Norwich, and Jack Butland went off to Stoke. So even though they're not keeping them players, they're feeding in high international players through their systems, which is great for everybody involved.
Yeah. You also did some women's football coaching at Leicester and Burton.
Yes.
What do you think of women's football in the UK? Do you think it's I think it's
growing. I think it's following on from the World Cup and the success of how England did. I think women's football is growing a lot. Obviously here in the States, they're world champions, so women's soccer here is probably bigger than what the men's is. But going back to England, it was always difficult because you were trying to build these not a lot of finances, and everything was new. Players wasn't under contracts and things like that, so it could get difficult at times. But I think as the times go on and as the teams start to splash a little bit of money into women's football, then we could really see a success over the next few years. And I really hope that coming up to the next World Cup, that England can really go and be a force there.
What do you think of the standard of women's football in general?
I've worked with some good players, you see some of the players that are playing internationally that are just in local teams, but Birmingham have got quite a lot of England internationals, and so has West Brom and people like that. So just local teams in the Midlands, and their teams their players are playing in the World Cup for England and things. So the standard's good. I honestly don't think the standard will ever be matching the men's game, and that's not in a rude way. I just think that the men's game has had so many years before the women's game even started that I don't think there'll ever be a catch-up on it. I don't think there'll be a catch-up in the way of people watching the sport and getting involved. But from a point of view of getting women in, it's certainly getting better every day.
Do you think it will get to the stage where it's at a decent, professional level where, like in the Women's Premier League, they can all, go about their play football and do that as a career and not, have to do other jobs?
I really hope so. I really hope they can do that. I really hope they can become full time and live a life on it. I think it would be great. The only way that's going to happen is if we're pumping more from the Football Association, from the TV rights. People start actually going to watch the soccer and do that. So it all depends on how that works. I'm sure the talent's there for it. It's just the outside of the game, and especially for the Football Association, it's their time now to step in and pump a bit of that money in and really make it a focus.
Okay. You moved to Texas in the summer. Do you want to tell us about the role you do over there?
Yeah, I moved over. I got married and I moved over to Texas, and then I started coaching what we call select soccer over here, which is probably about the same as like our lower academies in England. And I take a boys team and a girls team. And I also this year got the role as assistant coach at a university as well, at Christian University in Texas. So it's really enjoyable. I have an under 10s boys, and I have an under 13 girls, and then I have obviously the university students like 18, 19 years of age. So it's a mix. It really keeps me busy, and it keeps me doing different things throughout the day. So it's enjoyable on my side, especially the English style of football. What you've got to understand here is soccer's the second game behind American football. So a lot of focus is on American football, and a lot of focus is on getting players, boys and girls, mainly boys, to play that sport. And soccer becomes a second choice. And also it can be expensive. Parents are paying nearly $3,000 a year to sign their children up to play soccer. So that can force a lot of people out of playing the sport because of the money involved. It's growing as a sport. It really is. And on the women's side of it, like I said earlier on in the conversation, they're world champions here now. So there's a real buzz about girls wanting to play soccer and become the Alex Morgans and people like that in the future. The boys' side, they're still trying to focus on changing a few things. Jurgen Klinsmann's come in as the national manager, and he's trying to change a few of the rules to help the development of the players. So we'll just see how it goes.
I take it Klinsmann's not too happy with the idea that kids aren't allowed to head the ball.
Yeah, it's crazy that they're massive on concussions and things over here, and I totally understand the safety of everybody, but I know from playing soccer myself for so many years that heading a soccer ball is not going to give you a concussion. You've got more chance of, you can get a concussion anyway, but not by heading that. And they're so light now as well, soccer balls, so it's not something that, and I just think that you're taking that out of the game. It's gonna spoil everything. You might as well go no head height and play on the floor. That you help development more than trying to say if the ball's in the air you can't head it.
Yeah. In terms of the women's game though, would you say it's as popular in America or more popular than the men's?
Yeah, the women's game is very much. Women's game is the biggest sport here for women. None of them play American football, so soccer's probably their biggest sport, and like I said, there's a real buzz around the place about it. And to be fair, a lot of the at national level are fantastic talent, and you also see now that a lot of these English Super League players. I know Rachel Yankee did it, and Karen Carney did it for a season. They're coming over here to play and experience the culture and things like that over here in this country. So.
In terms of the main, the men's game then, do you think it could become anywhere near as popular as, American football and basketball and all the major sports in America?
I don't think it'll ever become as popular. I think like I said about women's and men's football in England, I think American football and basketball will always be the top sports. I do really think that they're going to improve it, and I do think that soccer will come in a little bit more. But, a lot of people now are getting scholarships, American football scholarships. And, there's a lot of sports here because of the weather. People playing beach volleyball and things like that. So, it's difficult to play a soccer game
just
100-degree weather.
Yeah.
We're sending boys out at 9 years old playing 2 or 3 games in a tournament over a weekend in over 100 and 105 degrees. So it's a strain on them, for sure.
Of course. Just one final question about you and coaching. Is there a certain age group or anything you find the best to work with?
Yeah, I think, I love the older. I love working with players anyway, of any age. I love to see the development on them. I like to see their joy on their face of doing something that, a game that I love to do. For me personally, somebody around 18 years of age, just going into the first team or just trying to push for a professional contract, I think that gives you a real drive, working with these boys that are right on the edge of playing either Major League Soccer or, sometimes Premier League Soccer when I was in England, these boys that are going into 16 and getting scholarships, and I'm really trying to push on. I know the boys that I coached at under 12s at Derby when I was there are now first year scholars, 16 years of age, and are in the building full time, and I'm really pushing on to get a pro contract. So it's difficult because whatever age group you work with, you've really got a goal to push them a little bit further to what they need to be. But obviously when you get to that age of 16 to 18, their next goal is professional football. So it's a real achievement if somebody signs a pro deal. But you could say that if your 10-year-old signed a pro deal at 16, I coached him 6 years ago, and I was the first step of his ladder as he went through.
Yeah. How early do you think kids should start playing if they want to get, become a professional footballer? What sort of age group should they start?
I think it's difficult. I know boys in England, boys and girls, balls around at 4 years of age. I know my boys were. I know I was. I sometimes think that the 6 and 7-year-olds is a bit too young to put them into academy soccer, because I think you're throwing pressure on them when you don't really know where they're going to be. So I don't really agree with that, and I see now that people are Some of the bigger clubs are paying money for these 6-year-olds to come into their club. So how much pressure is that on somebody who's 6 years old and have already got money talked about on signing them?
Mm-hmm.
I think, to me personally as a coach, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, go out and play with your friends, keep touching the ball, keep making mistakes, keep enjoying it, because that's the way you learn. And then when you get to 9, 10, 11 years old, then focus on trying to get into the professional game and working on, because sometimes the academies are not as enjoyable that kids think, because I know you're playing soccer, but you're not with your friends anymore. You're not just kicking the ball around the streets like you used to be. You're in an environment where people are on you every training session and on you every game to improve. And if you don't improve and you don't show development, then at the end of the year you're going to be released. Mm-hmm. So you always got that pressure every time you step out there. If you're just in the local grassroots soccer or you're just out in the park with your friends, we used to play 30 versus 30. I'm sure you used to say,
yeah.
You put your coat down to make the goals, and it was anybody. You just play. You might not keep the ball the whole game, but you had so much fun with your friends. It was so relaxed.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's possible for a coach to spot a good player though at the age of 6, 7, 8? Do you think, like with because obviously they're not physically developed as much as they would? Do you think it's possible to see, a 7-year-old kid and say, yeah, he's going to be a star or something?
I think you can see somebody and you can see what they've got. It depends on what you're looking for, and what you've got to understand is you've got to see. I see he's got talent for that age, but when he's got to go through his growth spurt still. He's got to go through puberty still. He's got to go through everything up until when he turns 16 years of age, and you have to put all that to it, because if he has a massive growth spurt and then everything goes wrong, he could get to 13, 14 and he could be the worst footballer you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that's not his fault, that's just the way his body is growing and the way he's reacting to things. So it's difficult now. You look at people like Lionel Messi and you wish to see him when he was 6 years old and see what he was like. 5-time winner of the FIFA Player of the Year, probably the best player in the world by far. And then you look at it and you think, well, I wonder what he was like when he first came into the Barcelona academy at 7, 8 years of age. Did the coaches see that straight away, or did they have to develop it throughout the years and to get into that stage?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on and talk a bit about Birmingham then, who you support. I suppose it's been a lot better since Gary Rowett took over, 2 years ago now? A year and a half ago, sorry.
Gary's come in and he's made a great impression with everybody. I worked with Gary, actually. He was the under-18s coach at Derby when I was at Derby, so I knew him, and then obviously he went to Burton, so he was always local. So he's a great guy off the field as well, not just on the field. But he's come in and he's put a real buzz around the place and really got them playing. And the great thing about it is that many of the players that he has are the players that he's always. Lee Clark had last season, and Lee Clark went through that stage where we couldn't win a game. A home game for 20 games. Gary comes in, and the first home game Gary has with the same group of players, they win the game, and they've just pushed on from there. So, he has really come in, and I can't put my finger on what he's done and how he's changed it, but he certainly has come in and done something there and really pushed us. We could be in with a chance of the playoffs. We play Nottingham Forest away tonight, and then we play obviously Derby on Saturday away. So 2 big away games. I think you'd be happy with just getting 2 points out of them. If you could get a draw in both of them games, you'd be happy. If you could get 1 win and a defeat, you'd probably still, you'd be really happy with 3 points. 6 would be magnificent, but I honestly don't see us getting 6 out of them games with the form, especially the form of Derby at the minute.
Yeah.
And at home. They've got a good young manager now in Paul Clement as well, who's come in, and again he's trying to, after what happened last year under McLaren, he's trying to put the wheels back on for a big push this season.
Mm-hmm. Well, since Rowett took over, it went from relegation sort of area. Last season I think it was 10th, and now I guess playoffs is the target. I guess.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. He came in the week after we got beaten 8-0 by Bournemouth at home. So you couldn't get any worse. You've just been beaten 8-0 at home, and the confidence is low. He comes in and starts to get a couple of results and build, and he brings a few loan players in. We've all had problems with the board level, with the chairman being in jail and whatever else. So, he's just carried on with his work, like you say, you'd be disappointed this year if we wasn't certainly in the top 10, and you'd be really excited if we got in that top 6 and pushed for the playoffs.
What do you make of Demarai Gray moving to Leicester as well?
I think it's a great move for him. Demarai was with us at the academy level. He's been with us since he was 9 years old. So I've seen him around the academy, and he's a fantastic guy. He has a real love for the game. He has an addition. When you get to 19 years of age and you really want to succeed and you really want to play at the highest level, then who is going to stop you? You don't really have the right as a club to go and stop the boy going to play at the highest level he can. And I just think, with Leicester now giving him a chance in the Premier League, and I watched him against Spurs in the FA Cup, and I thought he had a very good game. I thought he had made a good impression for his first start. So, I really wish him luck, and I hope he pushes on and becomes a high talent.
Guess it's still sad to see someone progress through the academy and leave the club, though.
Yeah, of course, you want them to stay at homegrown, and you want them to stay in your team. But the problem you get is that that these players, like I say, I mentioned earlier on Damari and Jack and Nathan, 3 players. Jack was the youngest ever England goalkeeper, and still, probably one of the most impressive goalkeepers this season in the Premier League. And Nathan Norwich in the Premier League as well.
All right, Mark. Well, thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate your time. You can follow us at Twitter. We're at V2Football, or you can follow Mark, which is Meza0102. I'll link both in the description. I've been Anthony Kendrick. Thanks for listening. It's good night from me and good night from Mark. Good night.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.